Hi, Brian from Sipkins Nurseries here, and here at the Garden Center, we get a lot of people who are interested in starting or adding to a collection of bonsai that they have growing at their homes. And we get a lot of questions. Where do I start? What do I do with this plant? So some helpful hints for getting started with bonsai is to understand that there are indoor plants and there are outdoor plants. Many of the famous and most popular bonsai plants are outdoor plants, not necessarily suited to keeping indoors for an extended period of time. But there are others that we would normally grow as houseplants that are quite easy to use for styling and training and using for the art of bonsai inside. There's a couple plants that can go indoors or outdoors, but for most part, it's either indoors or outside. We call them cold season or outdoor bonsai, or we call them tropical or houseplant bonsai. So an example of tropical bonsai would be something like this money plant right here. It is a large plant that has been pruned back to encourage smaller, finer branching and simply be something interesting. Not saying this is fine art or anything, but it is a nice starting point. One of the most popular for the outdoor bonsai plants is the juniper. The juniper is a very easy plant to work with, and that's what you see styled in behind here. And at the Garden Center, we have a fair number of plants that are started. They've simply been grown and staked up, and it gives you some nice raw material to start playing around with. In terms of care, outdoor bonsai, we recommend that people would overwinter them in a very protected area. It can freeze, yes, but you don't want it to be fully exposed outside. So usually a unheated garage or an insulated garage with very minimal heat source is a nice place to overwinter cold season bonsai or outdoor bonsai plants. Maples, Japanese maples, juniper plants, pines are some good examples of plants that you can overwinter in a somewhat protected environment. Some people will use a cold frame or a shed, insulate the plants a little bit. You do have to make sure they stay hydrated over winter, but then as soon as you get to milder seasons such as March, late March, early April, those plants can be reintroduced into the patios or gardens where you're growing them. For indoor plants, generally speaking, you're going to just keep them indoors year round. But you don't want to put this on the piano across your room and go, oh, that's a nice looking plant. You have to think about how much light the plant needs. Outdoors, full sun is fine for most plants. Indoors, really need to be close to a light source or a window. When it comes to watering, it's what the plant needs. So careful monitoring, usually once, twice a week for an indoor plant. For an outdoor plant, in the summer, it could be every day. In cooler seasons, spring and fall, it might be once or twice a week. And some of my plants at home, I only water them once or twice a week. But it all depends on the plant and what condition it is, how large it is, how much sun and wind. So it's more about learning the plant than it is about it needs this much. So one thing that a lot of people like to see is, okay, we see a juniper, it's trained, it's trimmed, it's started as a bonsai plant, showing artistic form. And that is kind of the nature of bonsai, is you're taking the horticultural side of things, growing and keeping a plant alive, with the artistic side of things, and creating a landscape or an image that you have in your mind. Incorporating items and elements such as rocks and moss and trimming the trees, those are all things that are steps in the process. But it doesn't mean that you have to start with something that is very, very old or expensive. Most of the fun is starting with something that is young. So a few other plants that work well for indoors is Fukian tea, which is just a very flexible plant, easy to trim. Figs are very popular inside. So the weeping fig family is a family of hundreds and hundreds of different figs. Sometimes you'll see them grafted or on stumps such as this here, but it is a very flexible plant and apt to be pruned. Most of the time, the trimming aspect will be once or twice, maybe 3 times a year. in order to get a plant in the right size and shape. These are simply starter plants. So really, in terms of tools, what do you need for these? You need to water them, so a watering can, or you do it in your kitchen sink, pair of pruners, or pair of scissors, and pocket knife. It's really all the things that you need to get started. After that, using training wire, such as black aluminum wire or copper wire, works very well for styling and changing the shape and structure of the plants. So other indoor plants would be jade plants, crassula. It's a succulent plant, naturally grows tree-like, very easy to just simply train by trimming. And most of the time what we'll do is during growing seasons is we'll simply nip the plant back and encourage more and more dense branching. The best time of year to do this is as we're coming into spring. So indoors, that would be February into March. And so taking a plant that was maybe 10 inches tall, cutting it back to 6 or 7 inches tall, allowing it to regrow, will define more and more of a structure on a plant. It doesn't have to be expensive. These are just small $8 plants for starting with. And the point is that it's fun to grow the plants. You don't just need something that is instant or already, but growing the plants, learning how they grow, learning how to care for them, those are all just steps along the journey. Of course, you could also plant these and start new ones. Portulacaria is a mini jade, more of a cascading type of a plant. Also, these generally are only trained by trimming, not by wiring or styling in that sense. The figs usually are lightly wired or trained to encourage a structure that you would find attractive, but also just by trimming. Junipers are one of the easiest plants to dabble with, taking something that is just really simple. This is this is a Japanese juniper, grown for approximately 1 or 2 years in a greenhouse. And a plant such as this is very simple to just train by trimming. Clearing away some of the low branches. Some of the small twigs that are in between, so that you can see and admire the structure of the tree. Simply trimming and training to change the structure of the tree and to add to the artistic element of growing bonsai plants. There's many great resources for learning about bonsai. There are bonsai clubs, none active in this area here. There are some very good books in the libraries. And of course, YouTube has abundant videos on the subject. Great ways to learn, see what other people do, see what you don't like about what other people do, and simply start on the journey. Learning about the plants, how to train, trim, and style plants. And you're well on your way to finding a new hobby that is very satisfying. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you next time at Sipkin's Nurseries.